Gonna talk. We're gonna do our my first million chatting business ideas, heavy on the AI, and a lot less on the humor, since I am not nearly as funny as those guys. Hopefully, you can help me out a little bit there, Mike. Um, cool, man. What do you want to start with? You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You got more than I have. So
All
let's
right,
riff on that.
all right. Let's do that. So this one is. I don't even know if this is really a business, but I just want to get it out there. Um, I love listening to things that I learn, whether it's an audiobook or a podcast. I go to the gym 7 hours a week. I would love to spend 7 hours a week learning, but they're not having music is, listening to people talk is not very engaging when you're trying to be motivated to lift heavy weights or run fast. And this just occurred to me, why can't for podcasts we have music playing behind them without the lyrics? Obviously, lyrics would clash with them talking, but if you have instrumental based music, which is freely available everywhere, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to listen to the podcast while also having a baseline of music that can keep you pumped up? What are your thoughts on this?
I think first thing I think about is like the two things that you need to probably learn to do in the gym first is lift heavy and run fast. So that would be
I
step
think I'm
one.
beyond that level. I just crossed that level.
Uh, the other thing I think about is like EDM type music where it's like you focus on beats per minute. So if you find it's like when I'm in my office, I turn on a YouTube station that is like EDM study music where it's lyricless, uh, and it's just kind of music in the background that helps. It's at a specific beats per minute, a specific wavelength. I mean, there's so much that you can do with the sound of music right now in today's world with like the BPM, the hertz, the different brainwave states that different music invokes in you. I think that you could, yeah, I think you're onto something. The one thing that when I listen to music versus listening to a podcast is when I listen to a podcast, it has to be like a non-learning style podcast for me because I'm sitting there thinking about reps and sets and I got to run for 15 seconds. So my mind's not thinking as much. It's got to be more Joe Rogan style where it's just conversational. I'm not, but I could see like there's no reason you can't overlay that with an upbeat music that keeps your kind of brain in a high intensity state, if that's what you kind of mean.
That's 100% what I mean. Yeah, if you're really focused, like, reading in the terms of you'd read a textbook, like truly focused, no. But, I've been doing this with my first million. I wanted to test this out. I actually used some software to make it. You can check my Twitter. I posted a clip of this, but then I've been doing it in my garage. So I have two speakers in my garage. So I hook one up to music with instrumental only, and then one playing my first million, and it freaking works. So yeah, more casual chat type conversations. It freaking works. And so to me, there's a real opportunity here. Now, if this actually worked, it's probably not the best business because Spotify could come in and just basically build this into their app and you're done. But I wish somebody would take this idea and make it happen. So I think it could get a lot of attention and people, even if it doesn't make you a ton of money, you could actually get a lot of notoriety for building a cool thing that people actually are excited about that then you get copied by Spotify. Could be a smart thing.
Well, what you'd have to do is you just have to be the guy that builds the technology, right? In a way, and then Spotify, you can license it out to a Spotify.
Yeah, but I bet you for Spotify, if they actually want, if there was a lot of demand for this, they could easily just do it on their own. They wouldn't even need your tech. It's probably not that complicated of a thing. So, and by the way, just speaking of this, it literally came out yesterday. Did you see Suno, the AI music app that was released yesterday? You
No.
can literally do just to show you how crazy this music stuff is going. You can type in the app, I want to hear a pop punk song about winning the game on the last play. And it will literally 10 seconds later start playing a song with that beat. And it has lyrics and somebody singing a song about your topic. It's free.
It's kind of crazy. I was listening to Rogan and there was similar but for news anchors for news.
Yes, I saw that
It
one.
was a basically AI generated news show that
Yep.
the whole thing told you that it was AI generated and completely fake, but it looked like real news anchors. It sounded like real news anchors, and it was real news that they created within the AI.
I saw that. It's like a real show. It's a company doing that. I saw the founders were on CNBC talking about it, and it really makes a lot of sense. So anyway, I think it's just incredible to be thinking that we're 1 year into like AI becoming like a known thing, and think of how amazing some of this stuff is. I mean, can you imagine another year or two is going to be absolute insanity? The
Yeah, I think
potential is massive.
if you so layering on the idea of the podcast and like kind of bringing the AI element into it, I've had this idea for probably 5 years now, and it feels like in the era of AI, this is probably the most opportune time to build something like this with relative ease because I think one thing is like AI has removed the necessity for having a coder, somebody to be able to code because it can just do it. And um, I think this could be a really, so I was just looking like, so thinking real estate, Zillow has, I was just looking like a $13 billion market cap. Uh, LoopNet has, it's a $212 million market cap. Um, Realtor.com is owned by a group of companies, but that's, 70 plus billion-dollar market cap. So the idea is this. Well, and you and I have talked about this idea of layering AI platforms on top of each other, right? So to create kind of a new, you're going to have all these different AI tools, but the secret sauce is like the person that uses specific sequences of AI tools to create a completely new product. So you don't have to come up with the AI, you just have to use what's in place to then be able to create your new product on the backs of the tools of AI that's already created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just helping piece multiple tools together to create one product. So like
Right.
your product on the front end looks like one thing, but what it's actually doing on the back end is connecting three or four different AI type of applications.
So this is the idea. So you have Zillow. Zillow's where you go for anything, any real estate that's on the market. Anything that you want to look that's for sale, you go to Zillow. LoopNet, you go to LoopNet to see any commercial property that's for sale, right? So my idea here is where do you go for new construction homes? Like if you want to build a new construction house, it's not on the market yet, right? Because you have this, it's not built. But when you want to find a new construction home builder, like where do you go?
You're talking about if you want to build your own custom house. Is that what you mean?
Your
Like
own
you're
new
trying to
construction, it
find,
doesn't have to be necessarily custom.
well,
Builders have custom homes or they have spec homes. So
yeah, yeah.
basically
But
a fully custom house or they have like floor plans that you can build from already, right?
I,
Where do you go for that if it's not already on the market?
that is, I'm not in real estate, but that is a great question because I have no idea.
And I'll tell you what happens. Normally what you're going to do is builder near me in insert your
That's
state
correct.
or
That's what I
your
thought.
so
Yep.
builders in Austin, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
builders in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then what you're relying on is that builders have really good websites with great SEO and a Google business profile, which if you know anything about the construction industry, they're very good at building houses. Builders aren't typically going to be your best at website design and SEO, correct?
And
You following me here?
probably some of the best builders don't care about that because they have enough business from referrals. Their sites may be worse, even though they're the better builders.
Right. And they might be and some builders, that'll be the sell, right? Some builders say, I don't even need a website because I just referral only. Well, the market ebbs and flows. So when it's good, building is great. When it's down, where do you get your business from? It's not there. So I want you to envision a platform where Pinterest meets Instagram meets Zillow kind of style, where imagine a front page. So newconstructionbuild.com, whatever it is, imagine a front page where you have a map of the United States. And then on that map, you can highlight each state. So then you click on, for me, it's Wisconsin, right? And then when you click on Wisconsin, all the major kind of cities pop up, right? On the back end, you're going to these builders because there's local building associations that all the main builders are a part of. So it's not going to be very difficult to find their information. Eventually, you're going to have one-on-one conversations with every builder. But on the back end, you have builders who are they've given you pictures of all their builds, they've given you designs of all their types of houses. So you basically are a collection of photos, a collection of interior and exterior photos. So imagine you go on there and you click Wisconsin and you click Green Bay. Well, when you click Green Bay, the back end site automatically connects to all the builders that serve Green Bay. Because as the builder, you got to connect to where you serve, correct? So you're not gonna pop up in Austin, Texas if you serve Green Bay, Wisconsin, right? So you got to filter all this on the back end. Now, as the consumer, you clicked on Green Bay, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of photos that show up for you. So you're swiping through your phone just like you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and it starts with exterior. So you see the exterior homes and you start to, double tap to favorite something, and then you just scroll by things that you don't really like. Are you following me so far?
Hmm?
So as you go with so as you're double tapping, so this is where AI gets involved. So all of your favorite photos, it's starting to AI generate the style of house you like, right?
Oh,
And
I see.
those photos are then those photos are sent by the builders who have built these houses. These are literal, actual, like real homes that these people are looking at. But as you're favoriting these homes, AI is starting to understand what you like and is creating the style of house that you like. And then after you do the exterior, it goes to interior photos. And the same thing repeats for all of the aspects of a house. At the end of it, AI has now generated photos of the exterior, the interior style, the layouts, the designs, all of the stuff that you like based on all of the photos that you air quotes liked or gave a heart to. And then what it does is it runs that AI generated house against its Rolodex of builders who build similar style of houses and connects you directly with that builder. The builder then pays for those leads that come in. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts about that?
So yeah, I mean it sounds cool. I mean, you're definitely onto something because
Because what
people.
Zillow does, Zillow has, and just why that makes sense for a builder to pay for a lead to come, right? Because the average house is going to be a new build house is going to be north of $400,000. A builder's going to make 10 to 20% on that, so they're going to make 50 grand
Yeah, they'll
right out
pay
of the gate.
a lot for a lead for
So,
sure.
and what Zillow does is when there's a listing on Zillow and you go out and inquire, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. Zillow then takes that information and sends it out to three different realtors who pay them monthly for leads, and then it's first realtor to come in to get on the phone.
That's right.
So the concept the market already understands that that's what happens, but there's no new construction avenue there.
So my take on this is you're clearly onto something, but I would almost say, especially as an MVP, you always want to think about ideas like this of what could you do to make this work quickly and cheaply because you don't want to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then to find out there's some issue with your idea. As you're describing this, assuming this doesn't exist, it sounds like Yelp for builders. Like if you even just had an aggregation of all the builders, separated by areas, maybe, better than Yelp, and Yelp has a bad reputation, but just the concept of being the proper aggregator of things, that alone can be insanely valuable. And that not a tech person, but I think that could be done relatively cheaply, right? So, hey, you're in Green Bay. Here's the list of the 20 builders in Green Bay. Here are their photos of everything. And then eventually you get to a point where you're doing reviews, just like Yelp, right? Um, and that alone is valuable. And then you can even just create on there, like click to talk to builder, and then you charge them, or even you could just make ads by putting some of the builders at the top. Like that's what I think Yelp and like a Google ad, right? So maybe they don't get anything special other than they're at the top. I feel like something like that could be built cheaply, and then that gets us some momentum, and you start building out further with what you're
Yeah,
talking
then
about.
you can build the multiple phases of this. First
That's right.
phase would be literally getting a scraper, scraping all the
Yes.
builders across the United
Correct.
States, and then segmenting it based on city and state,
Yeah,
right?
I think there's insane value just in doing that. Again, assuming this is a big enough market. I don't know real estate. I don't know how many people are searching for builders to
I
build a
think it's
house from
going to
scratch.
be a big market because
Okay.
the housing shortage that we're experiencing across the country, I think is only like we've just hit the tip of the iceberg of people understanding that we are tens of thousands of houses short for the amount of population we have, right? And the only way to do that is to build new houses.
That's true, but how many of them are built by, hey, I told this builder to build me something versus a builder buying a ton of land and building thousands of homes? But here's the point. I think this is why I actually like my sort of pushback is actually a good reason to do it, which is to say, even if it's a somewhat limited number of people who would be interested in this, the value per customer is so high that it still could pay off massively, even if it's not a huge thing. And this reminds me of a lot of the things that they talk about in My First Million, where you're really niching down. But if your niche is super valuable, it doesn't matter how big it is. You could have a 7-figure business doing this and nobody knows you exist because it's something that people generally aren't thinking about, but you're making hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per builder or per consumer. Could pay off massively. So I think that's worth investigating. The reason is that doesn't sound hard to do at all. I think you should seriously investigate that. So anyway, I give that one an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Nice. I don't know if we were
All
going
right,
to
what do you
repeat
got?
each other's ideas,
I
but
forgot yours. I would say
I mean,
as an avid podcast listener,
yeah,
I would agree. I think yours is probably an 8, a solid 8, because it brings two. There is just something a little bit different when you're working out to music versus a song, right? The motivation factor. And call
mhm,
me, I'm not David Goggins, so I'm not very good at motivating myself as much as music motivates me, but
yeah,
it brings those two worlds together.
exactly. I think it's a 9 idea as a business. It's probably a 4, but I still think it's worth pursuing if you're a tech person and can figure it out. All right, let's talk about. So here's a good one. I think I told you this a while ago, and it's still stuck in my brain. Again, super niche, but I could see it also being big, which is cool. So I told you the story that my family joined a babysitting group here in the Austin area. We're in a neighborhood with tons and tons of new families, and we were actually approached. It wasn't my idea of like, hey, what? Why don't we get 6 families together, and every family takes 2 months out of the year to watch all the kids in the group. So let's call it, I think we have like 12 kids. So twice a year, you have to watch 12 kids. And then by doing that, you get 10 weekends of basically free babysitting to go on dates. And it's awesome in multiple
Weekends, like
ways.
they're
Or no, no,
watching
no.
them for
Just
more
a,
than
no,
one.
sorry. Sorry. I meant just like we do 4 hours. So like a Saturday night for 4 hours. So from 5 to 9, you watch the kids. You got to, it's a little bit of, it's a lot more work than babysitting, 2 kids, right? You got to have a plan, have a bunch of food, have some games and activities, but it's also fun too. Um, so it's great for getting 10 babysitting, or I'm sorry, 10 free date nights, right? For 4 hours. That's awesome. But number two, we got to meet these new neighbors. We're friends with them. They're really cool people. It's kind of brought us closer together, making friends in the neighborhood. So there's a lot of positives here, right? And especially with the cost of babysitting, just being sky high. I just can't believe what it costs to get a babysitter nowadays. So this scenario is just a life experience I've had. But my thought is, how if these people didn't reach out to us, I have no idea how they heard about this idea. If we wanted to do something like this, what would we do? And there's not, as far as I know, there's not really an answer. So the idea here is to build, I mean, some version of whether it's Tinder or care.com or something like this, where it's basically niche down to say, hey, come join this website, put in your location, put how many kids you have and how old they are, and what you're looking for, and essentially just act as a matchmaker for families who want to meet each other in similar locations to create these babysitting groups. What are your thoughts?
Is I mean, the stuff like this already exists for nannies, for
Yes,
babysitters, right?
care.com. Yep. Which is
For
massive.
for for different things. So the proof of
Yes.
concept is there. It's just like it's you think of it like dating apps. The dating app concept is not unique, but then the special sauce is like who you're advertising to, right?
That's right.
Farmers only,
Right.
Tinder. There's a
Yep.
bunch of different things. So it's the same concept. You take
Exactly.
your and uh I don't know how you'd monetize it. You'd probably have because once you met the group of families that you're around, there's no need for the app anymore, right? So maybe it's
Totally.
like a one pay service thing or something.
That's what I would think.
However, and then it's just an idea, matter of marketing to the right people because it exists uh in different areas, right?
Yeah, the only thing that's a little different about this, because you're totally right of this idea of okay, dating, but then you just niche down, right? Farmers only and whatever else. So this is a niche down. The only difference is farmers have proactively wanted to date other farmers for the last 1,000 years, where it's not introducing a new concept. It's just introducing a new tool. This would be a lot more of introducing an entirely new concept to people, which is generally a bad thing because you want people to already want your product. You don't want to have to explain why they want it. However, it's such an obviously valuable thing for multitude of reasons, money plus making friendships, that I could see something like this going viral in terms of, imagine when the Today Show hears about this. They would want to bring you on their show to say, look at this new concept and how cool this is for families. They're saving money, they're meeting each other. So even though it's a negative that there's not already built in demand, I think you could create demand if you knew how to market it right. So I would say this concept plus tech nowadays for something like this is not that difficult. This is all a marketing thing. Like if you're a marketing expert, I think something like this could be massive. I'm not,
How often do you
unfortunately.
spend time with these other families outside of this?
Um, we've only been not a ton yet. One of the guys I've actually gone to beer with a few times, and he's doing some interesting creative business stuff. So I'm talking to him about business a lot. We run into him all the time at the local community events, and so we're not like best friends or anything, but it's just cool to have more friends in your neighborhood, right? And I know my
Mhm.
wife, she hangs out. I think she actually does. She goes. There's a bunch of stuff that they do at the neighborhood. So I personally don't, but my wife does.
Got it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I think this is a legit idea. It's been in my head for a while, so would love for somebody to take advantage. All right, you're up.
Some of the best businesses in the world are not new ideas. It's not about what's new, but it's more about what's tried and true, right? So you take you take what's already working and you take the packaging off of it and put your packaging over the exact same model. That's my idea here, right? So we're all familiar with Alex Hormozy, one of the probably best business thinkers on social media today, I would say. One of the most successful dudes on social media. Gym Launch was his flagship product that kind of got him on the map, that helped him make his first tens of millions of dollars. I think he exited those companies for like 47 million and now has acquisition.com. So essentially, are you familiar with Gym Launch, what that did, how they worked all that?
I know the basics, but yeah, give the high level real quick, and then jump into it.
So it started out as him traveling to a city and basically relaunching their gym. So somebody, private gym owner would say, "Hey, I need more customers." And Alex had this business in a box style of marketing, generating interest, and getting people in the door with offers. And then what he would do is he would sign up all of these new memberships. He would keep the cash from those signups, but then the benefit for the owner was that they had all these new members that were monthly recurring revenue. So it's a win-win for both people. Alex would make six figures on the front end. Well, then he eventually realized that, oh, I could actually do this without having to leave my living room. He licensed this information instead. So then somebody would pay him tens of thousands of dollars to launch this in their gym with a playbook that Alex provides. Now, so not my idea here is not reinventing the wheel, but the spaces that we hang out on Twitter, everything is about SMB. Everything is small business, right? That's seemingly the new wave of everything that's exciting in our world. So again, the concept of becoming famous to a small segment of people, I think that what are the stats? There's 10,000 baby boomers that are retiring every day and all, you hear all these stats about business. I think you can create the gym launch for home services. So essentially it's home service launch where you have the playbook that's licensed out that somebody can pay you 50 grand for. And you can say, based on my track record, I know that when you spend 50 grand, you're going to make 150 grand. And then you segment that into the plumbing playbook, the HVAC playbook, the roofer playbook, the siding playbook. And then you just take this home service launch concept and take it all over the country and you do this, you're just selling this license basically to home service people, and then they're buying into your business idea and generating six figures in profit plus for their company. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there's definitely something there. First of all, I would say, did you buy homeservicelaunch.com yet? Because I would recommend that you do. Um, so yes, there's absolutely something here. I'm glad you already brought up. I was going to bring up. You definitely want to niche down, right? So you say, okay, first you probably just want to start with one vertical, right? So whether it's roofers or plumbers or something like that, then you got to figure that one out, in detail. You got to have that playbook, do it yourself, prove it out, then launch it out to more plumbers. Then once you've done it successfully for lots of plumbers, then you can probably move on to another niche. So yeah, I think there's absolutely something here. I'm curious what your take is, because as you're explaining it, I'm just trying to think, like, you always want to think, what's the negative? What am I missing, right? The one thing that jumps out at me of the difference between gym launch versus this is a gym having more customers is just pure profit, right? They're already paying rent, they're already paying for the
Yeah.
employees. They just get pure profit. Where, plumbing, one of the biggest let's use plumbing to start with. The biggest problem they have is actually labor, right? So it's almost, there could be an issue here where if you were actually good at this, could they even handle it? Right. And so I guess I would argue, or I would say the solution to that problem is hiring would probably have to be a huge part of your launch, right? Which actually makes a lot of sense. You not only help them hire, then you help them to keep those people busy, making them more money. So yeah, I would say including hiring being a big part of it. So that's probably the only risk is that you could make them more money, but they couldn't take
Couldn't
advantage.
handle the
Couldn't
influx.
handle it. Exactly. Which I could actually see being a real thing.
Right.
Think about
Right.
that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's yeah, interesting,
I would actually
interesting
say
thought.
maybe a way to think about this then is plumbing's probably not the best example because plumbers are generally emergency. You got to go do it tomorrow, right? So maybe be thinking something that's not as urgent where, okay, if you had to, if you're normally doing people a week
Roofing,
after, I was going to say roofing is
siding,
one. Roofing
windows.
jumps out at me. Anything maybe new construction that I know maybe we can talk about garage stuff here in a second. Anything that's not as urgent. Actually, dude, why aren't we talking about garage? Because that could be the perfect example. That's like the perfect example because it's not a rush, right? If you told somebody we're a month out or 2 months out, they'll still do it.
Well, that's basically what Matt Stern's already doing. He's already created the business in a box, right? So
Yeah,
there's
but yeah, that's true.
and based on legal documents that I signed, I cannot compete with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Well, we're not talking about for you or me to do this business, right? We're talking about anybody could do this kind of thing. But yeah, so I would say your idea is great if you can find that industry that can take on, like, their problem is that they just don't know how to get enough customers. I think it's a genius idea.
Right. I agree.
I give it 9.5.
All right, what's one more? Let's do another one
Okay.
because then we can keep doing more of these episodes. I like
Yeah,
these
yeah,
ideas.
we totally should. So AI accountability bots, or bots is always such a weird word but AI accountability.
Accountability buddies.
Okay, accountability buddies. Hopefully about that one too. I think you're the one who brought this up. We've heard this idea before. Again, we listen to My First Million all the time, and they talk about both of them now are using the service that calls them every morning to say, "Hey, what'd you eat? Did you do good or bad?" And they're paying what, $500 a month for that. And so now that's obviously a real person, which is probably more, emotionally engaging to know that it's a real person on the other end of the line. But could you, there's so much benefit that they talk about with that. Could you create an AI version that's $20 a month? It still calls you. It still tells you what you want. It should be smart enough to know, did you do a good job or not? If you're explaining it just like you would to a person. I mean, at this point, AI voice technology, if you haven't used GPT-4 on your phone yet, it's incredible. The only real downside is that it takes 2 to 3 seconds before it responds. Yeah, that doesn't work super well when you're a lead, you're trying to sell a lead. But if it's to yourself and it's AI, it's okay that it takes 3 seconds to respond. So even though it's not perfect in the sense that, yeah, you're the one who set it up and it's AI. I mean, I don't see that big of a difference between a person and an AI. I think it's more about the reminder, and that reminder is yourself. Even though it's AI, you told AI to do it, so that's really you telling yourself. So, what do you think? We're
Yeah,
talking about
I mean,
eating healthy, or when to meditate, or how to eat, or going to the gym, all that kind of stuff. It could be any of those.
yeah, my first thought is like, it's AI, so if you let yourself down, it's not that big of a deal, right? So what's
True.
the combat there? Is like and the other thing I think about is skin in the game is you want to have, like so in your model you'd be paying for it.
Yes,
Uh,
that's a
I
big
think
one.
that there's an aspect where you can't let the person know that they're speaking with AI in a way. I don't know. That's my
I
first
think
initial gut
I
reaction.
don't think you don't want to trick people. I think people would have to know. Here's another idea. Here's a way to throw something on top of it. What if so the problem with $500 a month, obviously most people cannot afford this or wouldn't. Um, but you have to charge a bunch to have somebody be calling every single day. What if you did something like here's some ideas. So have you ever heard Tim Ferriss talk about when he sets goals, he'll put a massive negative on the line in advance. So what he used to
Yeah.
do is he would give $1,000 to somebody and say, if I don't do XYZ, you must send it to the Nazi party or something like that. Right. So something where you're like emotionally engaged. I cannot let that $1,000 in my name go to the Nazi party. Right. So what if you incorporate, so there's two options here. One, you can incorporate something like that. Literally, and there was a website, I assume it still exists. He used to talk about it. There is a website that does this now. So what if what you're doing is you're putting AI on the front end for the day-to-day interactions, but the back end is the same thing. That $1,000 is going somewhere. So there's a solution to your problem right there. Another idea of a solution is what if you had a system that said, look, if you miss 7 days in a row, we are going to have a human call you and yell at you or like tell you you suck. Right. So then maybe you say on the business end, it's not as much money if you know you're only calling a small segment of your people once a week versus every
Mm.
person every day. Plus, if they're in the Philippines or somewhere, like it's not that much.
Yeah. I feel like you just have to have more buy-in. Um, I like the concept to me is a 10 out of 10 concept, but there you got to figure out like it's got to mean something to you. Like it means more to let you down than it means to let my AI bot down, right? So if you're holding me accountable versus an AI bot, I feel, I mean,
All right,
I don't I don't feel like the same for those two, right?
I get it. Here's another idea. What if when you sign up, you like put in your friend, one or two or three friends' names and their phone numbers in the system that says, hey, if you let this down, we're going to notify them. Right. So then,
Right.
I think the point being there's you're right in your concern. I think that's totally valid. The question is it solvable? And I think I've already come up with three off the cuff ideas that maybe they're not great, but like I bet you
If you
there's
spent some time with it, you could solve it, like
you could
more than
solve it if
just three
you
seconds
really
on a podcast.
that's right. If you really dug in, I think you could solve it. So because I think there's a lot of us. I think you probably thought this when I heard them. I remember when Sam talked about it a year or two ago. This service, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I would like that." But then you hear it's $500, and it's like I just write it off, like no chance in hell. Um, so I think there's a lot of people out there who'd be interested if it was cheap.
Yeah,
And
not just $500, it's $500 per month.
per month, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So anyway, I think that's something people could run with. Let's end on this one. Unless you got another one. You want me to just end on this
Nope.
quick one because we're not going to dig into this. I just want to say it. Um, if people aren't aware, there's a lot. The photo quality of creating fake people is very very high. Number one, there actually is a business. I think there's already businesses doing this, but like for stock photos, if you want to create two guys shaking hands in an office, you used to have to pay for that because you had the model and the company. Well, now you can just have it be fake people, even though it looks exactly the same, right? Nobody would be able to tell. This already exists. So, but anyway, one of the big ways people are making money now with AI fake people is AI Instagram models. This is, most people listening to this have probably thought of the concept, have probably seen those people, fake people. There's fake Instagram influencers now who like sing and stuff, which is making six figures, which is insane. But my idea here is so this is already a big thing, but as usual, what is the answer when something's already proven in a big thing is to niche down. So how could you use the same model that people are doing with these AI Instagram models and but they're all like normal looking, very attractive men or women. How could you niche down? So you know, let's just not dig into the details, but I'm sure people can use their imagination and see where there may be some opportunity there if you niche down and create some fake people um, doing certain things. So anyway, any thoughts on
Yeah,
the
that's
high level
wild.
concept?
No, I think it's crazy. I think that there's going to be people are going to have a very difficult time deciphering what's
Yes.
real and what's fake.
Totally. Well, actually, and we should just say this since it just happened this weekend and I had invested in this company. This weekend was this company called Digi AI, which I had put a small amount of money in like 6 or 9 months ago, and it blew up on Twitter. Elon commenting on it, 20 million views of this guy who had no followers just posting about his app because it is an AI companion app. And lots and lots and millions of people very very upset about this idea, which is the basic idea is her. If you know the movie with Joaquin Phoenix,
Yeah.
where he talks to the girl in his headphones, but in this case it's not fully ready yet and people don't understand the video was just a teaser, it's not real yet. But imagine the movie Her with the girl in his ear, but also on your phone and you could see her, so it's not just an auditory thing, like you can actually see her. And yeah, so and Sean, actually, speaking of which, did you see Sean commented on this? And he said something along the lines of this industry is going to be one of the biggest industries out there. Like he is like, I believe in this so much that this is going to be massive, and it's true because it will. And again, I'm not sure what people can do with that because there's already companies building these things, and it's probably very complicated to build this. But maybe think of adjacent type industries or ideas where you could build on top of the concept of, okay, live in a world where AI companions, you know, a billion people have an AI companion.
Hmm.
What else? What other opportunities are there for those people who are using those companions? So probably an opportunity there.
That's a wrap.
The wrap. Cool. All right. Well, I think this was, I give it a 9 for a first go. Hopefully we'll keep doing it. If people like it, let us know. And if you want to have these types of conversations, Mike and I are in and started $1 Million Dads, where we talk like this with other successful entrepreneurial dads. So feel free to reach out if you're interested in that. But otherwise, we'll do this again soon.